offering. So, Lonny, why don't you introduce our guest today and give a little rundown, because
this is Charles D. Larson. I call him Dave Larson. And Dave's a unique person. A lot of my customers are unique, but this isn't a customer, this is a friend. And that's how it all ends up. I mean, you start out doing a customer build, next thing you know, your buddies and you hang out. That's what the car deal does. The car community, you know, the way it starts out, you got two kinds of customers. He's that other customer.
Okay.
He's, you know, So, Dave, got Logan beside you.
Yeah, we'll start off asking you some questions.
Sure.
Well, just give us a little rundown of, yourself, where you came from, how you kind of started your career, and then we'll get into the cars and how you got into that stuff.
Sure. Kind of interesting. And it kind of tells you a little bit about how I am. At the end of my sophomore year of high school, I got a full-time job in a plastic factory, injection molding company.
Okay.
And obviously making good money, working 48 hours a week, second shift.
Yeah.
And when school started back, I went to my folks and said,
Thanks, man.
I don't want to quit working. And my folks said, well, no, you're going to graduate high school. And I said, well, I didn't say I wanted to quit high school. I said, I don't want to quit working.
Right.
So my last 2 years of high school, I worked 48 hours a week.
Wow.
And went to school during the day and kept my grades up and did all that.
Yeah.
But that was all simply motivated by my folks telling us kids that if you want something, you have to earn it.
Yeah.
You have to build it,
Absolutely.
you have to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So, give you an example. In 1969, I was 11 years old. Our father bought a real small speedboat. We had to buy the water skis. My brother and I had to buy water skis. Believe it or not, we still have those water skis.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I still have my bicycle from high school hanging in my car shop.
There you go.
Like these.
Yeah.
Because we had to work hard for everything. Well, I had the desire for cars early on in my life. And so I knew I had to make money if I wanted to have cars.
Yeah.
So, when I was in high school, I had a nice car. And a lot of people couldn't afford nice cars back then. I graduated high school in 1976.
Yeah. Different times. Yeah, absolutely.
But all the onlookers probably going, oh, that spoiled kid.
Yeah.
Not knowing
Not
you
considered.
earned every penny of it.
That's right.
Working
So
100 hours a week.
Yeah.
Between school and work.
Right. And I never, and I don't say this is good. I'm just telling you what kind of person I am. I never went to a school dance. I never went to a high school football game because I worked.
Yeah.
I got out of school at 2:00, had to be at work at 4. Got off work at midnight, had to be back at school at 7:10 in the morning.
how much different do you think you're like? Did you ever get into like getting into the partying or stuff that people get into when they're young, or do you think that kept you away from it?
It kept me away from it with the young people.
Yeah.
But what it did create was when I got off work at midnight with all these men,
Yeah.
and they stop off the local bar, and the bar closes, an hour after you get there. So they get used to taking, we drank, they called them snowshoes, half peppermint schnapps and half Canadian Club, a shot, and a shorty beer. So you do 2 shots and 1 shorty beer, and head home.
Yeah, snowshoes. You were so numb, you didn't feel nothing.
Right, and then you could go to sleep. To help you go to sleep, you have a little alcohol in you.
That's fair.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
fair.
That's awesome, man.
Because you don't consider that like you go and work all night, you get up at midnight, and you're not ready to go to bed.
Right.
Your mind's still going.
Yeah, you're still working.
So how long did you do that for?
My last 2 years of high school, and then literally the day I graduated high school, they put me in a position. This company was 350 employees at the time.
Okay.
They put me in a position to manage the maintenance department.
Oh, wow.
And so all the workers, my workers, were all older than me, and significantly older than
So
me.
what, you were about 20 years old?
19.
19.
Yeah,
Your
Yeah.
dad worked there.
Yeah, my father worked in the tool shop there, in what they call the tool room, tool and die maker.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He worked in there.
Okay.
And so they put me in right away, and it was like a really long list to get from nights to get on to days.
Yeah.
But they moved me right away. So I had proven myself, and and show that I was, I wanted to work.
Yeah.
I liked working.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I like stuff,
Exactly.
and if you like stuff, you have to work to get that stuff.
Absolutely.
So your so-called retirement, how's that worked out for you?
Yeah. How's
Really,
that been?
really good. I'm 66 now. Excuse me. I retired at 60, and I sold my company 6 years before I retired, and I worked for the company for 6 years. So since I retired, I've developed an industrial park, done a few things with buildings, industrial buildings. We started an industrial park down in Clearwater, another one. But now I'm really ready to say enough's enough,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and just
enjoy
enjoy.
Yeah.
Now, as in my retirement, and I'll tell you, it's really a lot of fun. Can't wait till this guy can join us.
Yeah.
Mondays I have lunch with a car group. Today, and I didn't go today because I just wasn't feeling well, but today another car group got together. It's like 2 or 3 days a week.
There's going to be something.
Yeah,
going
there's
on.
some stuff, and they'll go for a cruise out to Lake Afton or something, and it's fun. You just go on for an hour.
Small
or so.
group of guys.
Small group of guys, and
There you go.
and it's just a fun deal, and it's different guys and different types of cars. This one today that they call it the 316 Car Club.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
familiar with
yeah.
it? Most of these are newer cars.
Right.
There's Austin Martin in there and a lot of Corvettes and stuff like that. But then on my Monday one, there's some older cars and stuff like that is more fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you told me that at about 9 years old, you got into Corvettes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. It's really kind of a fun, quick story here. And we lived in the Chicago area, and we had like a 2.5, 3 foot tall cement wall between our driveway, because our driveway was higher, and our neighbor's driveway.
Okay.
And so I come out of the house for something, and there's a black 1962 Corvette. I did not know at 9 years old if that was a Corvette or if it was a Ford. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was cool.
Right.
So I sit on the wall. I said, my story always was, I sat on the wall for 3 hours waiting for whoever owned the car to come out of the neighbor's house. My mother said it was like 20 minutes. She said, you were out there like, to me, it seemed like forever.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the guy's name was Art Brenner, and he was friends of our neighbor. And he came out and he said to me, do you want to sit in the car? And yeah. So I sit in it and still don't know what this car is at 9 years old. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
So I sat in it. He went up and asked my folks if he could take me for a ride. He took me for a ride in the car. And then every time I'd see the car over there, from then on, I would ask go over and talk to Art. His name was Art Brenner. Talk to Art and go for a ride.
There you go.
Did you ever just start giving them gas money?
So when I was 18 years old, no cell phones back then, he called our house, and my mother answered the phone and said that he wanted to sell this car. Now, by this time, I knew what the car was. I knew it was a 62 Corvette and all that. And my mother and father, and I'm working, mind you, I'm working.
Still working at the.
I'm
Are
working
you still
full-time.
working for the plastic?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm working full time.
Nice.
And so I got money.
Mm-hmm.
So my folks decided that it probably wasn't the right thing for me to own that car. So they didn't tell me about it.
Right.
So I run into the neighbor at some place, and he says, I can't believe you're not buying Art's car. And I said, I didn't know it was for sale. So I went home and I talked to my folks, and my father never, ever owned anything but a Ford. And he worked for a Ford, as a Ford mechanic for a short period of time, but he's a Ford guy. Didn't want General Motors cars in the driveway. That's how it was back then. And so you're not buying that Chevy, blah, blah, blah. So I needed a co-signer.
Yeah.
So my folks co-signed for that car, and we bought that, and I put that car in storage the day I bought it, and didn't take it out for 3 years.
So you paid it off?
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't about paying it off.
Okay.
I got paid off early,
Okay.
like a year, but I was too wild.
Gotcha.
You know, I just didn't. Everything I drove,
You wouldn't have that car
Yeah.
today
if
So,
I wouldn't have done
had
that.
you.
Did you make that decision at the time, or
I
did your
made-
parents make that
No,
decision?
I made the
Very
decision
wise decision to
Yeah.
make at such a young age.
because I love the car, and I just know with alcohol and
Yeah.
you
Alcohol.
just and
Okay.
whatever, you know,
Yeah.
you do stupid things, and I did not want to tear that car up. You
So
know,
you're pretty
took pride in
level
the
and balanced at that age.
yeah. Well,
What happened?
alcohol. No.
But so go to the backside of this. Here we are today.
Yeah.
Where's that car?
That car is in my shop, at my shop. We did a complete body off restoration on it 10, 11 years ago. We modified, it was a true survivor car.
Right.
And in 1987, we took that car, we were supposed to take the car to Bloomington, Illinois for the big Corvette meet.
Right.
And when I pulled it out of storage, I blew a head gasket and the head bolts were loose just from sitting, you know,
Yeah.
because cars have.
Yeah.
So I was doing the engine and stuff, and I didn't have a spot because it was the 25th year for the 62 Corvette.
Yeah.
So it was in the Silver Corral.
Okay.
So I didn't have a spot for it. One of my buddies who had a 62 couldn't make it, gave me a spot. I got the engine built, put it in, drove it down there, and we took third place of 1962 Corvettes.
Wow.
And the first and second place cars were totally restored trailer cars. And so we got third place. Well, it rained that Saturday night, and we got to lead the Corvette parade out on the interstate and all that. We got to lead because the first two guys weren't going to
They
take
were going to pull their cars out.
right because of the weather. And so it was just a blessing for us that we could
Lead the pack.
we could lead the pack.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
So-
no, we changed. When we restored the car, we put disc brakes on the front and a two-line master cylinder brake system.
Yeah.
And we put power steering and electric fan on the car. And we dropped the front end a
You
little
put
bit.
a different rack under the front, right?
Yeah, yep.
You got rid of
The old,
the 62 Vet. What suspension was under that car?
I forget.
Wasn't it like something that was in the mid 50s? I mean,
Yeah,
it
Well,
was pretty
62
primitive.
is the same style as like or are they starting to go to Stingray styles there?
No,
No, that was
because
the last year for the
last
open
year.
headlight.
Okay, right. Okay. So then you go to the 63 would be the first year of the Stingray.
the
I knew
new-
it was a split window, but I wasn't sure if that was
And
the first year.
63, they changed the whole suspension, everything on it.
But what's cool is he bought the car when he was a kid,
Yeah.
and here he is,
Still today with it.
still got the car, restored it, and you were smart enough not to drive it and thrash it, and you got past your wild stage,
Mhm.
and the car survived. So here you are on the backside of things.
Yeah.
What's your new deal? You like hanging out, being retired, like hanging out with these guys that cruise every now and then?
Yeah, I like doing that, and I love to go up to my garage and fiddle with the cars.
And your garage ain't your garage. Just go throw that out there.
It's a shop.
It's a Taj Mahal. It's cool. And if you want to go spend a whole day there, you can.
Yeah.
And it's your getaway.
It's my getaway. Yeah.
And you got quite a few cars in your collection.
Yeah, we've gotten rid of what we've done over the last, I'm going to say 3 years, is I've tried to whittle it down to a manageable number of cars, but I want all of those cars to be really nice, unique cars.
Yeah.
So if I have a 40 Ford sedan, which I do, I want it to be a nice one. So I got rid of a few things. I got rid of a really nice 66 big block Corvette.
Neat
I mean, it was a nice car. Lynn actually went with me to pick that car up. You know.
That car came out of Kobe, Kansas.
Yeah.
Howard, what was that man's name?
Oh, gosh.
Nice car.
Yeah, nice car.
But those cars you don't get rid of, but that didn't trip your trigger.
No, and quite frankly, it hurts me. I like cars so much that it hurts me to see a car not being utilized, not getting on the road. If it's just sitting rotting away, that's not good. And it's not going to rot away in a air-conditioned, heated garage, but they need to be exercised. You know, the cars need to get
How do you
used.
feel about having a brand new car and you realize the battery's 10 years old and the tires are 10 years old and
Yeah.
it's never seen day? I mean,
Right.
that's not right.
No, it's
It's like a
So-
dog. It needs to be walked.
that's right. Exactly right.
Literally,
Well-
you hit it on the head.
We took Lonnie's. What cars did we take up there to McPherson?
Oh, my 40 sedan.
Yeah,
We
the
went
40
up to the
sedan.
school,
Yeah.
went up to
Yeah.
the
McPherson Car
McPherson
Show.
Restoration College.
Yeah, those folks have a good program going on up there.
Yeah, they sure
Getting
do.
kids back into the hot rods.
I dug the hell out of that.
Yeah.
And Jay Leno's behind it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I didn't realize Steve Bang's a local guy, heavily into it.
Yeah.
We
There's
drive,
there's a lot of big money, Wichita money is up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, we went to Mark's Arts and they had the Mercedes
Yeah,
that
the
the
Mercedes
kids
that they
did up
did.
to school. And it went to Pebble Beach and got second in its class.
Yeah.
And they did a presentation on it. Absolutely beautiful car. I mean, beautiful car. I never seen paint like that.
Mhm.
And I'm a paint and body guy.
Exactly.
I own a paint and body shop. And these kids from McPherson College did this car.
Mhm.
And Jay Leno did did a video
Yeah,
on
did
the
an
car.
episode on his YouTube channel
Yeah,
with them.
and man, they nailed it. But we're up there, and me and the boys went up to see the open house.
Mhm.
We get back home, and I go, best car, I'm gonna start riding this rough. My tires on the back of my sedan are 20 years old. And I'm thinking about how many burnouts I've done
Yeah.
and how many times I probably drove faster than I should have.
Yeah.
And you know, it's
Yeah.
amazing how you lose track of it with all
Right.
your if you got multiple cars,
And
it's an
that's,
issue.
that's why I'm saying, for me, and the older we get,
Yeah.
the tougher it is, really, the tougher it is to manage all that stuff.
Yeah.
And remember, you know, you start replacing batteries and you start needing tires and stuff. And it's like, you know what? I'm not paying attention to this stuff like I
How
should.
about when you take masking tape and start putting notes on the windshield
Yep.
so you know what you did?
Yep.
Because that's ridiculous.
Yep.
But that's a part of it.
Yeah,
You got to exercise them like a dog. You got to get them out.
But what happens now is like, and I should take up your tape idea. I've got a spiral notebook up on my bookshelf
Yeah.
in the shop. And I got every car, even my coach, everything's in there, and I write down maintenance, everything I do on it. Sometimes I forget to put it in the book.
Sometimes you forget to log it. Yeah.
I went to Affordable Street Rod's open house last year in my sedan. And I got over there and magneto car, okay? So I shut everything off. I'm sitting there and I flip the visor down and it's my fire up instructions, how to start the car. Mag, ignition, fuel pump,
Yeah.
start button.
There you
And a guy gave me a bunch of static about that. And I go, hey man, you gotta keep track of it. It's hard to keep track of it.
Yeah.
They push started me out of there.
If you only had one car, you wouldn't have to write that down.
No.
But when you have multiple cars, you got to find out all the tricks and
Every
quirks and
car
features.
is
Yeah.
different. Like you can have three kids, and all three of them are different.
That's right.
And
I was
these
gonna say like a
cars-
woman.
These cars,
Yeah, then I would use a different analogy. I'd say like a woman. You know, each one of them has her own little
Set of things.
Yeah, little certain things they enjoy. You got to do to get them going.
but you're still drawing back in.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
So let's move forward
Yeah,
here.
let's talk about some other stuff. So we know you're into the vets, but what other kind of cars are you into?
Well, we get a really
I know you said you had a pretty eclectic collection. You know,
Yeah.
you said you have a 40 Ford.
right
Yeah.
40 Ford sedan. We've got a 55 Ford pickup. We just sold a 40 Ford pickup. A Woody wagon, 38 Woody wagon.
Yeah.
God, I can't even remember everything.
We got some
Sunliner.
cars.
The Sunliner.
You know, here's something that really sticks in my mind with you. You and Dad, his wife, came over to the house, and I had a buddy of mine's 38 Woody, and I brought the car, again, a car that had been sitting, needed to be relived and enjoyed.
Yeah.
I pulled the car out of the airport hangar, brought it over, new tires, freshened it up,
Mhm.
got it running, brought it up to the 2000s. It
Yeah.
was a 90 build.
There you go.
And Dave and his wife came over to look at the car. But Landon was with us.
Yeah.
And Landon's climbing. And if you know Landon,
Yeah.
okay, that's free pass.
Lonnie's youngest daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lennon's in the car, bouncing around, and Dave and Deb are like, "Oh, she loves this car." Blah blah blah. You remember this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's when we first started getting tight, you know. And Lennon's bouncing around the car, and I said, "Man, I'm sorry about that." I said, "She just gets excited," and he goes, "No, this is absolutely perfect. This car." And I'm talking this high dollar car. He goes, this car, this is what it's going to be. We're going to load our grandkids up in it and let them climb all over this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm talking nice car.
Yeah. And we do.
And I knew right at that point, Dave's the real deal.
Yep.
He's a car guy.
Yep.
He knows what it's about.
Yeah.
You know, the cars they're just cars.
Yep. They're
But
cars.
you got to enjoy them.
Yep.
But you take it from that,
Yeah.
and then you go another notch. You want to build something different.
Well, it started off.
Here we go.
Yep.
It started off. I wanted a full size convertible,
Yeah.
and I always liked the 55, 56 Fords, even the 57 Fords. I always liked them. I liked the Chevys as well. So
What made you choose the 55, 56, 57 Fords over the Tri-5 Chevys?
fewer of them around.
Right.
My father was a Ford guy,
Okay.
so I kind of leaned towards
Lean
the
Ford
the
side.
Ford side because of my father. But I really, for me, if I take a 55 Chevrolet
Yeah.
or 56 and a 55 or 56 Ford, the body lines on the Ford, I think look better for me.
Yeah.
You know, I just like the lines. They're very similar.
Right,
You know, they're very similar.
But they both have their
If
intricacies
you
in there.
really look at the body lines on a Sunliner, 55, 56 Sunliner, you look at a Tri-5 Chevrolet, the Tri-5 start to blend in and start kind of look all the same.
Yep.
You know, and then you look at the Sunliner,
Mhm.
it's got some, I wasn't really on board when you wanted to do this car. I was like, I should have went right when he was turning left.
Yeah.
But it wound up being a good deal.
Mhm.
But they're really good looking cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're done up right, like
But-
yours,
but-
they're very good looking cars.
Go ahead and follow through with this.
Yeah,
So-
just keep going.
So, and I think it was the first time I met Lonny. I came over here because he had a 1965 Ford Galaxy 500
My Uncle Leon's Galaxy.
convertible.
Okay.
Well, my first car when I got my driver's license was my mother's 1965 Ford Galaxy 500.
Oh wow.
That was a four-door.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, maybe this will work. And I come over and we go out to the back building back
He's out in the
there,
barn.
Yeah.
and it's green. And I walk up and I think I said right away, no, this ain't for me.
Well, and I always told you, I read my customers.
Yeah.
He walked up and I watched him do this little head sway deal. And I'm like, this ain't the car for him.
No.
So then I said, maybe we ought to build something. And Lonny had done a 57. I think you did that whole 57 Chevy
Yeah,
convertible.
57 convertible for Don Short.
And that was over here. And I said, I want to buy this car. And Don wouldn't sell
Don
it.
didn't want, that was Don's college car.
Yeah.
57 convertible.
So he was.
Awesome.
So then I said, okay, let's go back and let's build something.
Yeah.
And really, there's pluses and minuses to building.
Yeah.
But the fun we had building that car
Mhm.
was incredible. I mean, I really understand where some of these guys can build a car and just sell them when they're done. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I want to do that. I wouldn't do it, but I get it because there's so much fun in that aspect of it, of building it.
You just want to go again and again.
Yeah.
You know, I think the smartest thing we did is we started out with a rendering from Robbie Barker
Yeah.
down in
And we'll pop up some of those
It-
images for you guys
Robbie
to
Barker
see.
was down in Mulvane, and he did renderings, and that gave us something to hang on to during the 4 or 5 years
Yep.
of the build.
Yeah.
And you give Dave something to show his buddies, this is what I'm building. They're like, what?
Do you think that's
And then-
key in a build like that? Whenever it's taken,
I think it helps somebody that can't visualize it,
Right.
and then you're telling your buddies about it.
We were talking about renderings of cars, how it's beneficial to have those, in a process that's 4 or 5 years long.
Robbie Barker was the guy.
Yeah.
Yep. And for me, it was extremely important because, again, I'm a detailed person.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to envision what something's going to look like, whether you're painting a room or whatever. I'm terrible at that.
Yeah.
So having the renderings, it did for me, I think it did a lot for the two of us, keeping on track with the car and not getting sidetracked and end up with side pipes on it or something like, that.
Right.
So the render and this car, we had complete renderings of the engine, the interior, the outside of the car, the whole car before we ever bought a car.
Right.
It helped.
So then we start looking for, I don't know how many we bought, a half a dozen or so cars before we found what we wanted.
I flew to Florida, and I was told this is a rust-free car. I fly down to Florida. I hit an Applebee's. I have lunch. I go look at the parts. I'm driving into where the car's at. I called Dave, and I said, I don't think this is going to be the deal. And Dave goes, is the stainless nice on the car? I said, yeah, stainless pretty good. I said, but, maybe we don't buy this car. This is after we bought a car.
Yeah.
We bought a car.
Okay.
So I fly down, look at this car. The guy goes, well, maybe in Kansas, your term of rust-free is different than ours, but we're down there on the coast, and this is a pretty much rust-free car. You can pull the floor mats back and look at the ground. And Dave goes, but is the stainless nice? I said, Dave, let's back off this car.
Yeah.
You listened to me on that one.
Yeah, that one we didn't
So
buy.
I flew back, and we drove about 2 miles from the house here and bought his car that we used for the donor body.
Really?
And it was a beautiful car.
Beautiful car.
Was
And
it-
it'll be in the pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, I drove it out of the man's garage, drove it to my shop.
Jim Winters.
Yep, Jim
Okay.
Winter. And then drove it up to Lonnie's.
That's awesome.
It was a beautiful car. And you're driving down the street with it red and white. Everybody's waving.
Nobody would have tore that car apart.
No.
I mean, it was that nice of a car.
Really?
And we started tearing it apart. And when we pulled the lower radiator hose off, the antifreeze was still hot. And then it went into timeout.
Yeah.
And we dissected rolling chassis. And you just sold the chassis. And
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And you went where?
To north central Alabama.
Really?
Yeah.
What a
Short
trip.
little drive.
Yeah.
But the car, the donor car, all we wanted was sheet metal.
That's right.
And we got the stainless from the first car, and that first car is the black and white one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
the
it,
red and white one was a 55.
55,
Okay.
But all we needed was the sheet metal.
but right. And then we went 56 trim on it. And wow, what a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our renderings, go back to the renderings.
Yeah.
Our renderings, we stuck to not quite 100%, but almost 100%. I think there were only 3 things we changed. One, we put door handles on the car because the rendering had the car with no door handles, electric.
With shaped handles.
Yeah, shaped handles.
Yeah.
And we put 57 T-bird handles. I think
Yeah.
they were 57.
55 T-bird handles.
55. We cupped the doors and put 55 T-bird handles.
We did away with the tag in the rear bumper and
Yep.
did a drop down tag.
Yep.
We did the 55 wagon tail lights,
The Mercury taillights.
Mercury tail
But
light.
they were in the rendering.
Right. Yeah,
the
they
Mercury,
were.
The
Yeah.
Mercury taillights were in the rendering.
And what a deal getting those.
Yeah. And the Mercury dash, we put a Mercury dash in it. That was in the renderings. So, we just kept, before we did the renderings, we looked at pictures of cars and pictures of pictures and started picking out.
Well, how do you know it's gonna
things you
fit
didn't
though? Like
like.
if you're just throwing like dashes and lights
You
on
make
like
it fit.
Gotcha.
That's what he told me. He said, we'll make it fit. I said, okay.
A lot of hours just trying to fab up your garnish moldings to match the dash, a Mercury dash on a 55.
Yep. And we were, with all of that fitting and all of that stuff going on, we were blessed in the fact that we had Rick Nutt, who helped us out tremendously with machining stuff.
Yeah.
Mike Long my buddy up in Chicago has a machine shop. They helped me. helped us with a lot of the stuff on there. But another thing that we didn't have, one of the things that we changed, which really became a big deal, but we didn't have any emblem or anything on the trunk.
Yeah.
And so this car's black, but if Lonnie's building the car, it's black.
Right.
There's
You can have it any color you want.
any color you want, as long as it's black.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
We couldn't touch the shrunk to close the trunk because you would have to have a nice rag
To shut the
to
trunk.
shut the trunk.
Yeah.
So I said, let's put the emblem on there, but the original emblem, I mean, it was huge.
Right.
And we have a brand new one of those, but I didn't like that. So we scaled that emblem down,
All billet.
all
That
billet
is-
aluminum.
That's awesome.
And my buddy in Chicago, Mike Long at Datum Tool, he did it. And you gotta envision that this thing on the back side of the emblem, it's curved like this, and
Convex.
it's curved this way, and you gotta scale this whole thing down.
Right.
And his, I think, 5-axis CNC machine, it was just under 1 million lines of program to
wow.
build that part.
So they machined this. It was 3/4 scale, and nobody would even know that.
Yeah.
So I got this $5,000 emblem in my hand, and I decide I'm gonna go after it with a Daco to make it closer on the fit.
Oh, see?
And the whole time we're thinking, okay, maybe that's not the deal, but it is the deal.
Yeah.
So we trimmed it all down, and now you got a way to shut the deck lid.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So we got that on there. The only other thing we changed were the wheels.
Yeah.
We
In the final hour.
the final hour we changed the wheels. We had a custom set of wheels built. Alan Butnick gave us a year.
Alan Butnick. Yeah.
And when we got the rolling chassis, I wanted to get wheels on it because again, you start seeing things.
You see progression. You
Yeah.
kinda see-
Art Morrison would give you the wheel specs, what you needed for the car, because they
Right.
could do the body rolls and all that.
Yeah.
And then, not to jump in front of you, but they gave us the specs for the wheels to roll out the tires, the whole 9 yards. So we get to the final hour, and I'm like, Dave, you'd wake it up a little bit here.
Yeah.
And the wheels you had were cool.
Yeah, they're nice wheels.
So we had one-off wheels.
They're still in my garage.
Yeah, but I got another build in mind. But go ahead.
So we built a new set of wheels, which are absolute stunning.
Another set of bud neck size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jewelry.
Jewelry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing from the renderings that we changed. But it kept us on track. It
Mhm.
kept us focused. It kept us on track.
Yeah.
The engine, I wanted a Ford engine in it, but I wanted 8 carburetors and I wanted crossover intake manifold.
Yeah.
They don't make one.
Right. So you had to make it.
But if you wanted it for a Chevrolet, you
No
could
problem.
get one.
Yeah.
I could buy them all day long for a Chevrolet. I can't buy it for a 351 Ford.
Right.
So I'm working with a guy in New Jersey on the engine, and he says that it talks about Jim Ingles,
Unlimited performance?
Performance Unlimited.
Performance Unlimited.
Performance Unlimited.
Okay.
And so I'm talking with him, and he goes, well, we could call Jim Ingles. Jim Ingles, years ago, was the guru
guys.
in the United States for multi-carburation on race cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they got a hold of him. He had sold his company. They got a hold of him, retired in Florida. He said, I'd love to do it. But he says, where the hell are we going to get a manifold?
Yeah. Baby.
And so I'm thinking we may have to cast a manifold. We may have to make one.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be, major money.
At that point, you might as well just like make a bunch of them, and start selling them, and then.
So there's not that many people out there this crazy.
Well, obviously not. Like
That's
they don't
right.
make them yet.
That's right. So Jim Ingles, we were talking on the phone, and he said, I think I did a setup years ago for Carroll Shelby
Yep.
Oh wow.
at Shelby America. He said, let's call out there. So I call out there. I get nowhere. He calls out there. Jim Ingles calls out there, and the vice president of Shelby,
Shelby USA.
yeah, he says, talks to him, calls back a week later and says, we found one up in the attic. He said, it's used. He goes, it's beat up a bit.
Unicorn.
Wow. And I said, what do you got to have for it? You can have it. I'll
Yeah.
just send it to you.
Yeah.
So we got the manifold. And you did a lot of work on that manifold.
It showed up, and it was a piece of art, and then I tore it apart.
Yeah, but the manifold came here first.
Yeah.
And then we sent it to them. But you polished the heck out of that manifold when it first.
I drilled holes in it.
Yeah.
And then Dave's like, what are you doing? I said, well, we're
doing a little modifications
fine-tuning
here.
a little bit.
Yeah.
I was a little intimidated when I was holding this
Well, I mean,
manifold, and carburetors cost more than one of my cars.
right. You know,
But Dave had this vision,
yeah.
and we always made a joke out of the carburetors. We're
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is going to be wall art. But you know what?
It's come close.
But it is really the jewelry box.
Yeah.
Ken Dig always says, look at the jewelry box.
Yes.
Talk about the engine bay.
Absolutely.
You will not, that is a beautiful motor in your car.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, I hope we get those pictures, to
Yeah.
show people what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But that little hurdle, Joe Maddox, boom, Babe Ruth of interiors, knocked it out of the park. We go to Waterloo Island.
Yep.
Joe Maddox. I don't want to just go overboard, but how'd you feel about that interior?
Oh, it's second to none.
Yeah.
And I mean, absolutely second to none. And with Joe Maddox, what happened is I said to Lonny when we started thinking about interior, I said, I need some names. So then I'm going through magazines, I'm going to car shows all over the country, and I'm looking for these guys' interiors.
Yeah.
I call them up and say, do you have any cars that are going to be at the Street Rod Nationals? Yeah, I'll have 2 cars there. Here's what's there. Are you going to have any car out in LA? And yep, I'm going to have this car, have that car. I looked at interiors, and it didn't take 3 or 4 car shows. And I said, this guy in Iowa is where we got to be. And so, and I had never met the man. Talked to him, but had never met him.
Right.
But I saw his work, and I thought, we got to have this.
Yeah.
And
And I only knew of Joel because of my dad.
yeah,
My
How-
dad
did
had
your
sold him
dad
leather
sold him
before.
leather. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's just making me think of is like, how much time did you put into just like thinking out all these little spots of the car, right? And like, how many years? Because this was a thought that was in your head that has been sifted over for years and years and years.
It
and
wouldn't
years.
matter if your head was laying on a pillow
Yeah.
or driving down the road. You're thinking about
You're-
these cars.
It's in your head.
Constantly.
You walk around a car show, and every single car you look at, you're thinking, what can I incorporate
Mhm.
from this car, this car, this car? Man, this is cool.
It's all in the details.
Yeah.
It's just
It
like
really is.
And that's really what makes building a car so much fun. My wife, she's not into the cars like I am, but she's into whatever I want to do, I do. She does her thing, so
That's awesome.
So the neat thing about it was she loved it because you wouldn't believe the jewelry she got.
It's funny how that works.
You
isn't it?
just spent $100,000. Okay,
Well, I guess.
So, like a relationship with a wife, if you have a builder working for you, is there any times that it gets a little testy?
It with my wife, it never got testy ever.
No.
She really
She was on board.
she's on board. She was 100% on board. I'm sending Lonny a check.
I never saw a check with Dave's signature. It was always good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, how long was the build on the Sunliner?
You said 4 or 5 years?
I'm going to say 3.5 to 4 years. We're really debugging right now
Gotcha.
to get it where we can drive it regularly.
Right.
But
Yeah.
time frame it. We debuted the car at the 50th anniversary of the Kentucky Nationals, Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah,
We were
right.
in the Builder Showcase in 2019.
19.
And then 2020, COVID hits, but we go to Des Moines,
Right.
Iowa, and you get the Gary Miller Award.
Right.
And the car just boom,
Then
knocking
it's,
everybody out of their sandals.
Yep.
And then we start
COVID.
COVID and start going back to doing regular business, and we don't really debut the car. We didn't campaign as much as we probably should have.
Yeah.
But you can take that car And you never named the car, did you?
No.
No.
The car is timeless.
Yeah, and that's what we call it, timeless. And that was when we did the renderings. I should back up to those renderings again because it's so important. You know, Lonny and I sat down, and that was some of the words that came out was the car's got to be timeless, meaning that I don't want a trendy car that 5 years from now it's outdated.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
No
want that.
spinners?
You struggled with the green interior.
Yeah, I did.
I struggled with the green interior for some reason. I don't remember where I saw this, but I saw a car. I don't know if it was a Mercedes or something, had green interior and a black car. And I go, man, I think that would be kick
Stunning.
ass.
Yeah.
And that was another word we used, elegant and stunning.
Yeah.
And this car has those.
Is that how you would describe the Sunliner?
Yeah.
And I don't think the green interior would have worked without gel.
No, and he picked out, when we talked about green, his eyes kind of lit up like, well, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of green are we talking about? Like an emerald or?
No, it's
There's some
a
photos we'll
pastel,
drop in.
kind of a pastel green. A lot of photos makes the interior looks beige.
Yeah,
In a lot of photos.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's definitely green and
It's kind of like British racing green. It's
Mhm.
subtle and
No,
in certain
no.
lights.
You're over left field.
Okay.
It is a pastel green.
Right.
I don't know how to describe it.
Not necessarily in the shade of the color, but in the sense of, it presents as a different color rather than what it actually is.
And the interesting thing with the interior, with Joel's interior, is right now I've got the trunk apart in the car, and man, you start taking his stuff apart, and it just fits, slides in.
You
Yeah.
flip a panel upside down, normal interiors, you flip it over. If it don't show, it goes. If it don't show, boom. You flip Joe's stuff upside down,
Hell, you can show it upside down.
the staples, the rivets, staples, everything just.
Uniform as can be.
But again, you paid for it.
Right.
Yeah, you pay for it. You pay
Joe
for
was involved. He did checkered pass for Andy Leach. He's done a lot of cars that compete annually at the Riddlers. To get a car in Joel's, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And we got guys here in Wichita that are badass.
Yeah, they're good.
And we got guys in Oklahoma City. There's guys popping up left and right because there's demand for it.
Right.
But
Because lead time is so
the
long.
lead time's 2-3 years.
And most of these interior guys are one-man bands, or
They have to be.
they got a helper, if they need heavy work done, but they're one-man bands. So and they're artists, so it's like it takes a while to get it done.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a dying art. Just have pinstripe. It's a dying
And
art.
podcasting.
Yeah.
Podcast. Another thing we ought to touch on. We had Josh Misser from Advanced Plating. The bumpers, Mike Ratley. He's got Mike stripes here in Wichita.
Yeah.
You got to give credit where credit's due.
Absolutely.
Mike Ratley dove into that car and fabbed up some stuff that I couldn't fab up, but we were able to coordinate it and figure it out. Mike did a good job.
Mhm.
Advanced Plating went in there and did your car and just killed it, man. I mean, beautiful chrome.
Yeah.
And then you start putting all this together. And I remember on Mother's Day, I know this because Steph said, hey, it's Mother's Day, your mom's in the house, and I'll put the rear end under your car, and I sent you a picture because I had some cheap help that weekend. I had Larry Dad over here. And, man, you start putting the jewelry all together, and you see it, and you see it coming, man. And you're like, this is going to trip his trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And we landed with the car at the perfect time, and then it wasn't.
Right. Yeah, and really what killed us when we finished the car was COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like everything was an uproar. And
But let me tell you what could happen. We could drag that car out right now,
oh yeah,
and boom, it's like day one.
That's right.
It'd go again.
right.
And
And I'll tell you, for me, it's not about getting accolades, trophies.
Right.
But that's not what it's about for me. But I told Lonny this down in Tulsa and in Wichita. If I can sit back, and I did this in Des Moines as well, I can sit back 100 feet from the car. Nobody knows that it's my car.
Right.
And you watch the people, the expressions on their face, and the comments that they make, if you're close enough to hear,
Yeah.
that means everything to
The
me.
car guys, you can watch it, and the car guys will gravitate towards a real car,
Yep.
and you'll see it, and they'll pay attention to it. And then you'll see a trendy car, and it'll get a lot of attention. It'll be a home run, 2 or 3 events, but there'll be that one car that sticks in their mind, and then the car will disappear for a while, then show back up, gets the same response.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's where you're at with that car.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But those cars, there's so many badass cars being built.
Yeah.
The boys at the roaster
Oh.
shop are killing it.
Yeah.
And then you got all the big name guys that are killing it.
Yep.
There's some kids over here. I say kids. There's guys over in Covey, Kansas. I think it's Big Bear or Bear Creek Hot Rod.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Holy smokes. These guys are over here by Covey, Kansas, by the Colorado line.
Right.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Building nice stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're seeing the dollar amount just go. And you're like, how's that possible?
Yeah.
Right.
But it
Where's
is.
the money come from?
And
But it's us older guys that are selling our companies and doing stuff.
Exactly.
That-
And then we were over at Bobby Alloway's deal in Nashville last year, and you're watching all these guys your age
Yeah.
campaigning these cars for these guys, and you're looking at these cars going, wow. I mean, Kendig,
Yep.
the quality of them cars
Right.
that Dave Kendig builds, these guys are doing the same gig, but
Right.
they haven't really got out there in the public eye, but
Right.
they're building them kind of cars. It's amazing.
The product is out there, that's for sure. There's a lot of good guys.
There's beautiful, beautiful cars out there. And I don't know if I should say it on this podcast or not, but
You can say whatever you want.
we
edit it out.
we got taken advantage of in Wichita. The car show here in Wichita.
They didn't want to stink up the show, Dave.
Right. They didn't want to have a Wichita car win. And that was bad. In Tulsa, the other hand, the cars that we were up against in Tulsa were nice cars.
I was okay with the results in Tulsa. Them guys came from Switzerland.
Yeah,
Give them their acknowledgments.
Some gentlemen from Switzerland, they certainly put a lot of work in on that.
absolutely.
But was it nicer? Doesn't matter. But they had the same passion for their car that you had for your car. And you talk about sportsmanship. It really is. You gotta show a little behavior. There was a group there that had a high-end car, and they weren't very good.
Very good sports about.
No, they had a nice 32 pickup there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the minute they didn't get the acknowledgement, they turned a shoulder to the event and hauled ass.
Yep.
And we went over and congratulated the boys.
Yeah.
And I'm friends
Had a
with them
drink with
today.
them. Yeah, had a
I'm
drink with
friends
them.
with them guys today. They're from Switzerland, and they were cooler as shit.
And they
Great
built some
accents.
badass cars.
Huh?
Great accents.
Oh, you know what? I got my own accent. But so, here's a little deal on Dave Larson, Sunliner.
Yeah.
You're gonna see video or pictures of the car.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
been
we'll
a
talk
ride.
them into pulling it out and going for like a ride along with them. It'd be like a cool little
Maybe we
video
can do
to
like
do.
a
You'll
community.
have to do it in the nude.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you think about coffee and a cruise, Dave?
About what?
Coffee and a cruise in Sunliner.
We could do that. We got to get it. We got to get a radiator hose on it. Get a couple little things to do, but we could do that.
We might have to set that up with you and Lonnie one of these days.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
do
gonna
that.
tell you something that we really need to do sometime. Do a video of the bottom side of that car. You
Yeah,
can flip that
that's
car.
the-
You can
there-
flip that
yeah.
car on its top, and you would have as much. I mean, you'd be amazed.
Oh yeah, yeah. The exhaust on that car, Larry did that exhaust.
Yeah.
Is unbelievable.
Concourse trim, did all the polish and work, and then
Yeah.
recently they sold out, and that's a
It's another deal.
no source
Yeah.
deal for us now.
And I'll tell you, Lonnie mentioned Mike, but the whole group, everybody that put their time and effort in this car, it was fun.
I love Mike Long in Chicago. He machined everything, and he would do renderings, and he would send me this rendering. I'm like, this is really going to work. But down in the drafting column, it'd say money pit. And I'm like, this is the shit you don't get rid of. This is what makes your build book.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I'm not the techno dude, so Dave wanted to do a build book on it. And so the best I can do is like 3x5 little pictures from Walgreens, and I'm building it all together. And then Mike Long takes some pictures of Dave's bike that he had built and sends this sculptured, what was it? It was like etching or metal etching rendering of it. And I'm like, man, I wish you could do that kind of stuff. You know what? I can't, but I can build a nice car.
Yeah, you get a real deal. We
absolutely.
need to make a rendering when you can build a real deal.
Well, but
I should mention in this though that when it all got started, and I had this idea, I want to build a car now, and I want to do something. When I did the '62 Corvette, the body off restoration and minor modifications to it, we did it in Chicago. Well, I don't know how many plane trips to Chicago, and I'd go up there and spend a day at the shop and get a taste of it. And I said, if I do this again, it's going to be close enough to home that I can just go after work
And see
what's going on. I can go over and touch and feel and feel more involved.
Yeah.
And Lonnie's group, that's the one nice thing about it is you guys always let me be involved.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was just stand back. I'm not a body guy.
If something was getting ugly, you got to see it. If we were struggling with something, you got to see it. Problems with the car. Dave was here. I bought a 2-post lift just to take the car off the rotisserie.
Right.
And you were here to help us get that car moved over to the 2-post.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there and we're thinking, my God, if we lose this body on the 2-post, it's over.
Yeah.
And now we'll go hang out with Dave because he's going to be mad at me. But we got past all that, and then boom, here we are. And we still have a car that has gremlins, and we want to get it back
We
out.
just got to get them all.
But we can get it back out and debut it.
Yeah.
And
It's still a showstopper.
It is. It really is. And Lonnie told me no. Joe Maddox told me no on this, but we got to drop the top. And we got to go get ice cream with the girls.
Yep.
he said he wanted to haul his grandkids in it, and hell with it. Do it.
Yeah.
You go through the ropes once.